Welcome to another Fab for Less video on cardboard swords. With the release of Dynasty, there's a new class in town, and it's the Assassin class. We've got Arachne, we've got £25 worth of cards, and we've got a Blitz deck. Let's get in. The new class on everyone's lips is the Assassin class, and Arachne is our first Assassin hero. Arachne is a young hero with 20 life and 4 intelligence. He has the ability to look at the top card of the opponent's deck whenever you play a card with Contract, and you may place that card on the bottom. The weapon of choice for Arachne are 2 one-handed daggers known as Spider's Bites. Each dagger costs 2 resources to swing for 1 damage with built-in Go Again. On top of that, each dagger has Piercing 1, which means it gains 1 power if it's blocked by a piece of equipment. They also each have their on-hit effect of making your opponent's attack action cards defend for 1 less. That's an ability that shouldn't be underrated. The on-hit effects of your Spider's Bites makes your attack action cards with Contract a lot more difficult to block. And when an attack action card with Contract does inevitably hit an opponent, it enables you to banish the top card of their deck. If the card banished fulfills the contract or other contracts on the combat chain, then you gain a silver. In this build, we want to present the opponent with some damned if you do, damned if you don't blocking scenarios. So we're going to make blocking difficult, we're going to play in the reaction step, we're going to disrupt our opponent by putting their power cards to the bottom of their deck, and we might generate some silver in the process to power some big turns. In the head slot, we're running the Iron Rot Helm. It's basically 1 extra life, and it might allow us to defend against an on-hit effect without spending a card from hand. We've also got the Blossom of Spring for whenever we draw a hand with all red cards and we need a resource. We've got Braces of Belief, which we're probably going to crack on one of our 5 power attacks to try and get it up to a 7 to make blocking even more difficult. And of course we're running Snapdragon Scalers, which is just an absolute powerhouse. We want to keep this in the arena as long as possible, so that whenever an opponent is defending an attack, they're always asking the question, will they give it Go Again? In the kit bag we've got some Ironhide protection in the form of Ironhide Gauntlet and Ironhide Helm, useful for those heroes with more on-hit effects or dominate, and then we've got some Null Rune to protect us against those wizards. As you'd expect, the bulk of our deck is made up of attack action cards with Contract. Each contract looks for you to banish different types of cards from the opponent's deck. Annihilate the Armed is a 1 for 5 that's looking for attack actions, Nyx the Nimble is a 1 for 5 that's looking for reaction cards, and Rob the Rich is a 1 for 5 that's looking for cards with cost 2 or greater. 1 for 5 is an okay rate, especially when with a 2-card hand we can pitch blue, Spider's Bite into one of these attacks. It's also worth noting that they also all defend for 3. But a much better rate on attacks is our 0 for 4 attacks. Now we can pitch a blue, we can Spider's Bite, we can swing with one of our 0 attacks and always ask the question, are they going to Razor Reflex that? If our opponent wants to play around the fact that we might Razor Reflex it, it's made even more difficult by the fact that Spider's Bite has just given their attack actions -1 defense. Seeing as Dynasty only dropped last weekend, a lot of the Majestics are out of our price range for this budget build. But one Majestic we can include from Everfest is Bingo. It's a 1 for 5 that blocks for 3 and also has a pretty niggly on-hit effect that's not to be sniffed at. When an opponent has to reveal a card from their hand, that's always a more powerful effect than you'd think. They might want to reveal a non-attack action, but that might be quite tricky seeing as they've had to defend with them as a result of not blocking Spider's Bite. Bingo's been a pretty underrated card so far, but I think it might find a home here in Assassin. We said we wanted to play in the reaction step, and Assassin might have some of the best attack reactions of any class. Shred is a card with some brutal artwork and a brutal effect. Its ability to give -4 defense to a defending card can cancel out a Sink Below or a Fate Foreseen, or even mess with an opponent's temper on their armour. Honestly, this card might be one of the most powerful to come out of Dynasty. We're also running Razor Reflex to push damage and give Go Again, but bluffing that we have a Razor Reflex is almost just as powerful. And we've also got Cut to the Chase, which helps us to push damage and complete contracts. We're also running a suite of blue attack reactions that also give a buff of just 1. and that's because we've got a piece of tech. The Talisman of Featherfoot is a zero-cost item with Go Again. It reads, when an attack that you control gains exactly +1 power from an effect during the reaction step, destroy Talisman of Featherfoot and the attack gains Go Again. With this out in the arena, whenever we come in with an attack and we've still got cards in hand, our opponents are constantly going to be asking the question, should they block this one? Or are they going to come again? And should I block the next one? Now in this deck, we're not so bothered about completing contracts to get silver. In fact, we're more interested in disrupting our opponent by putting their best cards to the bottom of their deck. But when we do generate silver, our main payoff is cash in, which allows us to draw more cards to fuel bigger turns. We'll have a look at some sample turns. In this first example, we're under a bit of pressure. We've drawn our hand, we haven't got an arsenal. In fact, we're in trouble, we haven't got a blue pitch. We can sync to see if we can find a blue pitch card to enable us to have a decent 2-card hand. We can't afford to block anymore. What we're going to have to do is we're going to pitch 2 cards to Spider's Bite and come in with a zero-cost attack. Looks like we'll have to try and draw a blue and arsenal again next turn. In this example, we've got a full grip. That means 4 cards in hand and an arsenal. Let's see what we can do. Okay, we've drawn a blue. That's pretty crucial. We've also got our talisman, so we'll play out the talisman first, then we'll pitch blue, come in with Spider's Bite. Leaves us 1 floating. Use the 1 and we'll play Annihilate the Armed. If we want to, we can lunge impress this, and that'll pop the talisman to give it Go Again. We can apply some pressure here and come in with our zero-cost contract to attack again for 4. Okay, this time we're going to try and work towards our payoff, our cash in turn. We've got a cash in arsenal, we've also got one in hand, that's a bit unfortunate. We don't need both, so we can pitch 1. We'll come in with a Spider's Bite. We'll try and push some damage here. We've got plenty of reactions in hand. We'll shred to make sure we generate some silver to work towards that cash in turn. Maybe next turn's our turn. Let's see. Okay, this looks like a better hand. We're lacking resources, so we're going to pop the Blossom of Spring to give us a resource. We'll use that resource for a Rob the Rich, coming in for 5. Maybe we can push damage here and manipulate the top of the deck so that we can make sure we get some silver for that cash in turn. So we'll play Cut to the Chase as a reaction, and we can snap the Scalers as another reaction to give us Go Again. Then we can cash in, draw 2 cards, and now we've got more fuel to go again. We can come in with a zero-cost attack for 4. We can pitch our blue Razor Reflex to red Razor Reflex it and give it Go Again on hit. And we can use the floating resources to come in again with another Rob the Rich for another 5, which makes a 20 damage turn. The current build of this deck is only running 10 blue pitch cards, and I'm not quite sure that's enough. I think we might need to up that to 12 after some more testing. We've got 12 attack reactions to keep our opponents guessing in the reaction step, and we've got 20 cards with contract, but our focus isn't on generating silver, it's more about disrupting our opponent. Given that Assassin is the new class on the block, coming in on budget was always going to be tricky. We squeezed in 2 Majestics, but neither of those are Assassin cards, as the price of those was too high at the minute. We've got 14 rares in the deck, but the most expensive card in the deck was actually Spider's Bite, which will come down in price in the next few weeks. Our target budget was to have an overall card value of no more than £25. Our list came in at €29.66 using the Card Market shopping wizard. That translates with the current exchange rate to a value of £25.96, which admittedly is a little bit over our budget, but it's not far over, especially given that the set has just dropped and those cards are going to come down in price over the next few weeks. But if you can't wait to get your hands on a new class and take it for a spin, then this is a good list to do that on a budget. Given that there's currently no Blitz Precon for this hero, this list really does give you a sense of how the hero wants to play, and it can always be upgraded at a later date, Mask of Perdition being the obvious target for an upgrade. The link for the list is in the description, and I'll try to keep this up to date and within budget over the coming weeks. Thanks for watching, I hope you found this useful. If you did, perhaps you'll consider watching some of our other Fab for Less videos, or maybe some of our gameplay content. Maybe you'll consider subscribing. Either way, thanks for watching and see you next time.